A very good evening and many thanks for tuning in to Y254. It's a discussion Monday, the 17th day of the month of September 2018. Thank you that you could join us tonight. On our political scope tonight, we want to see what the framework or the proposal that the president gave on the police reforms. We want to see what is this structure that the president was saying, and how about these house allowances. And we also want to know, do we really like the uniform that we have seen them that they will be putting on? Much of this will be taking place here, and to put things into perspective tonight, I am joined by Counsel Senaji Anyanje. We will be talking more of legal issues, and also to understand as a Kenyan what is our feel on this take. You could be part of our conversation tonight by sending us your comments or questions to our SMS line 22162, starting with the word Y News. Again, 22162 is the SMS line. Choose, remember to start with the word Y News. At Murani Hillary at Y254 channel is the Twitter handle to use. Hashtag is Y254 updates. Welcome to the program. My name is Dereva Hillary. We now move straight to our conversation tonight. Good evening, sir.
Good evening to you, Hillary.
Karibu sana. Good to have you here.
Thank you very much.
It's been quite a long time since you were here last.
Indeed, it has.
I believe you have been well. Now, President Uhuru Kenyatta proposed a framework of how our police will be looking like maybe in the days to come. And we understand currently someone has moved to court to disagree or to make the framework stop rather, and we want to see what is this. And to begin with, it is structure and command of the officers, and I want us to look into this area with this scenario in mind. We remember what happened with Westgate and the Westgate attack, and even in Garissa, and also the Eladi attack on our KDF officers. This structure of command, will it come to ease things, or it has come to harden? Because these officers, or the information that came to the public was, we called in and so had to be informed to speak to the bosses for help to be sent. So is this structure coming to help, or it's a structure that will harden things?
Thank you very much. I believe in understanding the proposed structure, it is actually good to look at the perspective that has actually been brought forth in this regard. What has been done is that the president had mandated the Inspector General of Police together with the Minister of Interior, Cabinet Secretary Interior, to come up with proposed changes to the police service that will bring a degree of certainty, clarity, and simplicity within the service. So to understand the perspective very well is first to know what has been proposed. By the new proposal, what the president seeks to introduce or to have introduced is a system where the clear structures of the police are actually set out in a way that there are no overlaps or duplications in functions, such that in the event of disaster, as you have rightly pointed out, we have a communication channel that actually depicts the picture as it is, without any contradictory statements that might actually cause some degree of unrest within the populace. So part of the changes that are being proposed is a scenario whereby you have what they are terming as the Inspector General of Police. For example, Deputy Inspector General of the Administration Police is going to take care of a certain docket, be it the Border Control Unit, which falls under the Deputy IGAP. Then under the Deputy IG Kenya Police Service, we have the normal Kenya Police, who will fall under that docket. So the functions have been clearly stipulated under the National Police Service Act, as derived from the Constitution, Article 243 going through to Article 245. So the proposed reforms are actually meant to integrate the functions so that the overlaps that have been evident in the past do not occur, so that we have some degree of certainty and clarity in the execution of the various functions.
All right.
Yes.
Yeah, actually, this integration of the AP police to the National Police Service, they are the reforms that have been called for a very long time. And one thing that is coming out clear is that we will see things that we used not to see. For an example, the president said, if I will quote him, those of us who thought that an AP cannot arrest you, they will be doing that. Now, how does it augur with a Kenyan or with a citizen if an AP police will arrest me and arraign me in court, maybe?
See, initially under the initial, the former unit, what normally happened was that the Kenyan police was generally in charge of maintaining public order and safety. Then the administration police will come, for example, when it comes to regional border control, let's say cattle rustling and the like. So what has been done is that a general police unit, general defense unit, no, not defense, police unit has been created under the Deputy Inspector General Kenya Police to oversee these two functions that have been merged. First, to increase the numbers within the service, and two, to reduce the overlap that you have rightly pointed out, the overlap that has been there initially, so that within the merger, what has been done is that they're just being brought under a single line of control, but they have distinct functions which they're meant to perform. For example, under the border unit, these police members are meant to ensure that our borders are safe at all times, while the Kenya Police Service are generally mandated with the task of ensuring that the public security is upheld at all times. Then another function that has been assigned, that is proposed to be assigned to the administration police unit, is what we are calling as government security, government building security. These police officers are mandated with the task of manning government buildings, and there is also a proposed national infrastructure, critical infrastructure unit, which is basically mandated with the duty of ensuring that critical infrastructure, such as medical equipment, let's say broadband, for example, are protected from vandalism by this new unit that is currently, this new function that is being introduced under the AP unit. Yes.
All right. We will be listening to what the Kenyans had to say in a bit, but before then, I want to understand this. The president was clear that these reforms will be in a way trying to bring discipline in their forces, and these people will be responsible for crimes, as in to control, because that's their work. And for a very long time we've seen how police officers, how they have been harassing Kenyans to some extent, and we want to believe this thing will come to bring some changes. Now I want to get, do you think with these reforms, starting from the structure of the bosses, who to report to who, and the orders and the instructions, how they will be given. Now, a junior police from a certain station, how do you think they will work with the mwananchi with these new reforms? Because it's something that has been asked for a long time.
Part of what has been proposed is refresher courses for these police officers, just to try and bring them in line with the constitutional aspirations as pertains to pertains to police servicing. Because initially the police have been viewed as a force that is characterized by brutality, probably inhuman treatment, and certain other degradatory actions. But what the current constitutional dispensations aims to achieve is a unit that is actually guided by service. It is a service and not a force anymore, such that these policemen are trained on how to respect and uphold the rule of law, at the same time to protect the rights of these citizens, even as they maintain law and order. Because the general duty of the state is to maintain public law and order, not to punish or otherwise degrade or mistreat their citizens.
All right. I want us to hear what the Kenyans had to say. So our reporter Patricia Muriuki was in the street to hear what the Kenyans feel about these new police reforms in this country, and let's listen into what Kenyans had to say.
Following the new directive on the police reforms by the president, we took it to the street of Nairobi to get the public opinion on this matter, and this is what they had to say.
Oh, okay. Looking at it from the perspective of, let's say, the new police uniform, I have a perception that our government is actually just copy-pasting from other countries, the countries that maybe, like, for instance, our new police uniform, almost the same design as what is being used in China. What we need in the police reforms is more of a culture change than the look change. You know, in every institution, in every country, you need a trademark. and our police had a nice trademark in terms of their uniform. So if you're changing their uniform to make them look like they're going for office work, that is kind of, you're trying to portray a picture that our country is too safe, that police are getting comfortable, and it's not the case, because we are reporting instances of gunshots, ruthless use of gunshots everywhere in the country where innocents are being killed. So we need to change the culture of the police themselves. Like we need to be sure, are they actually performing their roles right before we start looking at their outfits and everything.
So housing, I think it's okay, because first of all, we have like a lot of insecurity in neighborhoods, and I think it's good if they're there to protect us. And finding people on the roads, no, I'm not for that, because they have to like understand the situation, why someone was in that particular situation. And the uniform, it's okay.
Uniform sioni ikiwa mbaya. Juu hata ukienda kwa kanjua na kuangana green. Kwa nini kanjua jalalamika? Hao wanalalamika kwa nini? Secondly, ile kitu naweza kuuliza, kwa nini asiwe anavaa uniform hata wakati yako nini hayuko duty? Huku unakutana na karao anakushika na ako civilian. Hata kama ako patrol, ni akuje patrol akiwa na uniform, ndio tu ajue. Juu kila wakati wanakuja anakushika na ujui kama ni karao, juu ana uniform. Na kitu kingine naweza kusema, hizo uniform ziko sawa.
Okay, my name is Zineti. Concerning the issue of the police uniform, I tend to support the idea, because first, uniforms zenyewe ziko poa kushinda uniforms zilikuwa za kitambo. But now, in contrary to the opinion, in as much as I support the issue of the uniform, I'm in contrary with it, because one, changing of uniform is a matter of changing the outward appearance of someone, but their character still remains the same. Tabia yao ya kuchukua hongo itabaki tu kwa the same. The government, instead of trying to change the uniform first, should have instead started from looking for a way out of ensuring that they change the character of the police. Then two, they train them in a way that will make them feel they're part and parcel of the society, instead of having them kuchukua hongo now to have their character change, because character is an inbuilt aspect, while uniform is an outward appearance, whereby we'll be looking at these people and thinking that, oh no, they're just but different people, not like us in the society.
That's the public opinion on police reforms. Reporting for Y254 News, my name is Patricia Murioki.
All right, thank you, Patricia, for that. So, Senaji, those are some of the comments Kenyans felt like this is what is needed, this is not what is needed. And if we could borrow from what one of the Kenyans said there, living with the police, I want to come now to the house allowances. Now, let me get it from you as a Kenyan. How does it feel living next door to a police officer?
I believe that question is twofold. There's the aspect of the enhanced security that comes with a police officer living within the neighborhood, and then that is also buttressed by the other aspect of the intimidation, possible or perceived intimidation that comes with it. Because the general perspective that we have as regards our police is varied. Some people will view them as an addition or a positive within the neighborhood. Others will feel intimidated. So I think it is how we want to look at it, and it also boils down to how these policemen or police officers will conduct themselves within the community. If they want to put themselves in such a scenario that they are not, probably the common mwananchi cannot approach them, it actually means that that neighborhood will be characterized by great fear, apprehension, and some degree of intimidation. But if the police is hospitable, calmly, and accommodative to the views, to the neighbors, then I believe it is something that the populace can actually enjoy because of that added degree of security that you feel by having a member of the service within the ranks.
Yeah.
Yes.
We all agree that police officers are also human and they have families, but now there's that perspective we've always had about the police officers, and now I'm just imagining this situation. You've washed your clothes, you want to go hang them, and then where you want to hang nakutana na koti ya polisi, as in utaisongesha venye unasongeshanga za neighbor mwingine, ama hizi utaziacha kwa sababu ni za polisi?
See, it reminds me of the animal farm where they talk of all animals being equal but others being more equal than others. So it will actually depend with the, can we say, the character of the police person in question.
Right.
But I believe that by the mere understanding that we have of them, somebody might be a bit reluctant unless you have guts befitting a person who might want to go and move the garments of a police officer. It's going to be a bit difficult.
True.
Yes, for someone to just go and try and is it replace or outdo a policeman.
Right.
Yes, so I think there's that degree of fear that the normal mwananchi will have. But even on general living, when you talk about general respect, it is only fair that if you find someone has come before you, you just allow them. On the converse, if the policeman is the one to come and remove your clothes from the line, I believe that it also is unjustified. Because within the neighborhood, you're supposed to be subjected under the same condition.
True.
And in any event, the new houses that are being proposed are actually meant to provide better conditions for them than they are living under at the moment. So I believe they should accommodate the others, and the others will also be in a position to accommodate them.
Yeah, true. Actually, living with a police officer, there's so much into it because there's that fear of a police officer. I also want to concur with one point. When they come to live amongst us, there will be some sort of sanity. Speak of the young boys who misbehave and knowing that neighbor wangu ni polisi, I can't do bad things in this plot. But also there's this aspect. You live with a police officer. Your son, your brother, your sister, your family member has committed a crime. This police officer will, his duty, apart from being a citizen, his duty is to maintain law and order. Now, if they book your family member, how will this life be? As in, from now, moving on, he's your neighbor, na ali arrest one of your family members, pengine hata amepelekwa prison, as in, how now do you get to live?
So that calls for the general duty or the mandate that the oath of office that they sign or the one that they take upon joining the service. They're under a certain mandate to ensure that the public morals, the public safety and public order is maintained. So under that obligation, it is only fair that you look at the general public. When it comes to criminal law, what we look at is the duty of the private citizen to the state, so that the state is the general public as compared to one individual, so that in the event of an offense that is committed that qualifies as a crime, what we look at is the impact of that to the general public at large and not a private citizen. So what normally happens is that this police officer, other than just the duty by virtue of office, is the general calling of balancing the interests of the private citizen or the private family as against that of the general public at large. So that once the general public duty outweighs the duty to the private family, it becomes imperative that this police officer is left with no option but to act within the law. Yes. Whether that is going to augur well or otherwise with the family, it is their duty to uphold the law at all times.
No, we must admit it will be very difficult, because when your neighbors one time and the other you borrow things from each other, and then it gets to this point, hapa hii ni kazi. So I want to believe it to be kind of hard for these things to be happening. I want us to change now from and move to something different. Now, the court last week allowed traffic police to have instant fines on motorist offenders or traffic offenders. Now, is there a clear structure, as in, if it's overlapping, how much should I pay? And is it cash, by the way? Is it something that it will be written or go pay later, or what's the strategy for this?
To understand the perspective very well, under criminal law, there is what we call the null crimen principle, that actually calls that for something to qualify as an offense, it has to be given under written law, then it must have a specific penalty, and it must be communicated to the offender, such that an offense only becomes one or recognized as such if it has been passed under written law, and it is definite with a certain penalty or fine or jail term, and the same is actually made aware to the populace. So the traffic offenses, minor offenses rules that were the subject of the court action from 2016, what they have done is that under section 117 of the Traffic Act, the cabinet secretary is mandated to provide some, to actually create rules to govern minor traffic offenses. Part of this is to enable the judicial process to be more affordable, expedient, and to also save cost and time. Because what is meant to happen by these instant fines is that you don't have to go to court to plead guilty, because it only becomes an offense upon your plea, so that once you are arraigned before court, the first step is to either the charges are read to you, then you either plead guilty or not guilty. So what these instant fines are meant to do is to give you that opportunity to actually plead to that offense if it is an offense, because the rules are actually there. It means that if you have not fastened your seatbelt and the police officer pulls you over for not fastening that seatbelt, it becomes imperative that under the minor rules, the offense under the minor rules, you are liable to pay a fine of 500. Now, instead of paying a cash bail of a certain amount and then being booked for court at a different date, yet it is something that is so overt and open, what actually happens at the instant is that you just admit to the offense through a certain notice that is issued to you at the spot, and then you pay the fine. On the converse,
if this fine I'm paying right there, or something I can claim?
Okay, at this stage, what has been done is that the rules have been passed. On the implementation bit, probably that is something that is to be ironed out progressively, because if it is left open, there is still that possibility of corruption and bribery still taking place within this. So there has to be a clear implementation plan, let's say through reporting structures, whereby these traffic officers are actually mandated to make some reporting to a certain agency indicating the offenders that have been arrested on that day, the ones that have actually pleaded guilty, and the fines that have been collected resultant of that plea. In the absence of which, we actually anticipate a scenario whereby there will be rampant corruption, where motorists, for example, opt to pay lesser amounts, such that they don't pay them as instant fines, but they pay them as convenient fines to the police officers. So that if I'm to
which
pay,
is corruption in short.
it is convenient fining. Yes.
What do you want to sugar it? Because you see, we have seen police officers, they will stop you and they will find mistakes. No one has no mistake when it comes to a traffic police officer. Utasikia sijui tayasi ziko na nini, hujafunga mshipi, hii mataa sijui, as in they will always find something for you to be fined. And then because you don't want to go that extra mile, you're like, situmalize hii hapa. So are we sure this thing will not continue? Will it end here? Because we had NTSA which came and we thought it will bring some sanity, but it never did. To some extent, it never did.
Okay, what I believe was intended to be achieved first is to decongest the court, because when you go to court on an ordinary day, you will find that actually the court list is actually crowded with traffic offenses, most of which are usually minor in nature. And if this can be dispensed with at the instance of the occurrence, I believe it will play a greater part in eliminating this congestion in courts. But that aside, the aspect of the implementation has to be taken into account and thought through very well, so that we curb the failures that have been witnessed in the past. We're not saying that the process is going to be foolproof. What we are availing to the offenders, because in most cases there'll be offenders, is the opportunity to actually plead, not within the court but outside court, and have this matter dispensed with without causing unnecessary inconvenience to these motorists. Yes.
So okay, if they will be relieving the courts in some way, this police officer, if they flag you, is it supposed to be alone ama watakuwa wengi, and is there a jury? Because as a citizen you have some right and you are allowed to fair hearing. Maybe you feel I'm not wrong in any way, huyu police officer amenionea, how now do you defend yourself? Or kama hatuelewani hapa, now we can now move to the court.
I believe what normally happens under these rules, what is proposed is that you are given an option of taking the plea at the scene of crime and paying for that offense. On the contrary, if you feel that there is some degree of injustice, that does not lock you out of the constitutional rights guaranteed under Article 49 and 50 relating to arrest and fair hearing. So that in the event that you feel that the reasons advanced by the police officers are not fitting enough, you still have the option of electing to be arraigned before court, whereby you'll be required to pay cash bail. Then a notice to attend court will be issued to you, and then on the appointed date you can go and take the plea, and then the normal court process can then kickstart. So these fines are not actually shutting the doors to the court. They're just giving you an option in the event that you feel that you want to clear with the police at the scene of crime. You pay off the fine and then you proceed with your journey. On the converse, if you feel that you want to go through the court process, you have that option available to you.
All right, fair enough. Maybe to try and from that point, are we looking at the motorists of small vehicles like saloon cars, or it is the matatu industry who is being penalized, who is being controlled here, or it's general?
The offense, the rules are of general application, and they apply to all motorists. They do not discriminate. Okay, the offenses created there under include certain offenses that are specific to various categories. For example, a public service vehicle driver who surrenders the car to be driven by a person not licensed to drive a PSV vehicle is liable for a certain fine. I believe it is 10,000 shillings. A person who touts is also liable for a fine. A person who touts, or the conductors who are not licensed are also liable to pay a certain fine if they're found to tout without having the valid license. Yes, so it applies generally to all motorists and road users.
Actually, this law has been kind of lenient on these people because it has been happening. We have makangas, we call them kamageras. They are there and they shout. And if you go to any stage right now, you will hear those noises, and you're like, what happens? Is it do they implement these laws when they have interest on them, or like what happens? Because this is a law that has come, and it will be implemented at some point, and I'm sure with time it will be forgotten. How sure are we these are laws that will be followed?
Okay, see, the law is generally meant or designed to be followed by the citizens. There is usually no option about the law. It's either you follow the law, you just follow the law. Such that in the unfortunate event that you find yourself being on the opposite side of the law, there are certain consequences that attach to such conduct. So the law is usually created to bind all citizens. That is why under the Constitution it is very manifest that everyone is no one is above the law, and that the law is what is supreme. Yes, so that as a citizen enjoying citizen status under Kenyan law, you actually ascribe and subscribe to be bound by Kenyan law, and you are under a positive and permanent duty to obey that law unless it can be shown that that law is either inconsistent with the Constitution or does not actually promote the values enshrined in the same Constitution.
All right, I want us to finish with this area of branding, and I want us to talk about the uniform. It is something that has brought an uproar in the society, and people are like, hizi nguo zimetoka wapi azin? How do you feel about these clothes actually?
Okay, if I were to talk about my opinion on the clothes, I'd probably side with most of the Kenyans. So I think it is only fair that I comment on what was cited as motivating the change in uniform. The aspect of branding, of course, but you see, branding is also subject to perception. How one person will view a certain element or color might vary with how another person will actually view it. But what the president was emphatic about in the change of uniform was the aspect of visibility.
Right.
Yes, what they are quoting
You
is
can
that
spot a police officer.
yeah, they are trying to enhance the visibility of police officers so that the dark navy blue and jungle green that were initially used by the police service and APs respectively have now been replaced by the branded uniform that has caused
this
the uproar.
bluish thing. So this is how our police officers will be looking, and we've seen them during public holidays. They say kuna nguo za sherehe na za kazi. So will this be a sherehe cloth or what will it be?
No, I think it's just it will just serve as a general identity for the police officers, so that it becomes very elaborate and clear to every citizen that this garment has been assigned to these people, and this is the purpose that they represent. Yes.
Yeah. There's something I remember one of the persons was speaking about this thing, the police officers coming to stay around people when they're in Kambis. I'm not sure about it. Do they have their firearms? So if they come to live amongst us, will they still have it? And because commotions are always there, and these people at times get hot-tempered, what happens if you get into a beef with a police officer and you know he has a gun in the house? How will you react?
The sad part about life is that human emotion is very difficult to control, and sometimes we are normally overcome by aspects such as heat of passion, whereby the degree of reasonability is actually affected to a certain extent that when you act, you just act under impulse without necessarily actually caring to think about the consequences. So there is some degree of danger or apprehension that is actually created by bringing these I will call them weapons closer to the people, especially bearing in mind that human interactions are always not cordial, and disagreements may occasion here and then. And that is why it is important that these police officers actually are trained and they undergo rigorous training on how to handle such things, and probably they could also impose certain regulations on how these firearms are to be handled, especially within residential premises.
But we have seen them kill their partners and maybe someone who offends them. We have seen that. We've had stories of police officers who killed their someone who has messed with their life.
That is outrightly criminal, and such police officers are to be subjected to the confines of the law as any other ordinary citizen will be confined.
All right, as we finish, your final comments and your feeling, do we need to fear or things are just okay?
I believe with the proper structures, there is every reason to be hopeful and to also participate and be part of this reformative process. The only time that we can be apprehensive and probably necessitate an uprising is if the constitutional confines and aspirations that are enshrined are actually under threat or have been manifestly infringed. But in the absence of that, I believe the move by the president is a step in the right direction as we try to bring sanity and uniformity in the police service.
All right, many thanks for coming and sharing your insights on Y254. He has been my guest, Council Senaji. Thank you so much. And back home, many thanks for keeping it Y254. Coming up next is DJ Tieska and Ken Relbis on Y Mashariki. Stay tuned. My name is Dereva Hillary. See you on Friday. Good night.